All right, so now that we've created our server, let's begin to set up the folder structure for the back end, and let's create our first route. So remember, in the first project we did, we actually started building out everything from the server.js because I wanted you to see how things will break down into different parts. But now that we're already familiar with that, we don't need to do that. So there are 3 folders I'm going to create inside of the backend folder. The first is our routes folder, plural and small letter, so routes, because we're going to have more than one. Then we're also going to have the controllers, so controllers. Then lastly, we're going to have the model and model, and I want it to be plural as well. Okay, 1, 2 and 3. Yeah, now this is in tandem with the MVC pattern of building application, the model, the view, which will stand for our React application, and then the controllers. So everything is great. Now let's create our very first route, and I realized I should have started making commits as I was building this project. I guess I'll just do that now. So let me just make a commit and even create a branch. I'll just call it maybe starter branch or something. So here I would create a new terminal, and I actually want you to see this because when you start building your own application, your own startup or something like that, this is the process you're also going to go through. So I'll create a branch here. So I'm going to start by initializing this folder with git, and I'll just come here and see, you know what, I'll just do it with the shortcut here. Let me click here, and you see here that the p-invent app folder has not been initialized. So I'll just click on initialize repository. Okay, come on, be fast. And immediately you see that there are 1446 files that we need to track and make commits on. Well, that's because we don't have a git ignore file. We don't want to do anything inside of the node modules. So outside of this backend, remember, I'm initializing the full p-invent app folder, not just the backend folder, because I want everything to be together first when I'm when I'm building. So here outside, I'll just create a new file and I'll call that file .git ignore, like so. And inside of this git ignore file, I'll just add the node modules folder, so this / node modules. So I'll come here and say / node underscore modules, and that's correct. And of course, while I'm here, let me just add the .env file so that I don't have to push sensitive materials to GitHub. But if you come back, okay, if you save this file first, save that file and then come back to this guy, you would see that it will recalculate the folders that needs to be tracked, and then it will remove all the node modules folder and this .env file, and this number will go down. So just give it a couple of seconds. Aha, so you see we have oh, okay, I think there are still some node modules. Let me just make sure that I spelled that correctly. Node modules. Oh, okay. Well, to keep things actually very simple, what I'll do is I'll come inside the back end, this back end here. I'll give it its own git ignore file. So I'll say .git ignore. Just create a git ignore file there, and then I'll just add my node modules folder. So / node underscore modules, and then I'll save, and then I'll even add the .env here as well. env, and then I'll save, and now this should just correct everything that we want. So if you come here, you see that it has recalculated, and now we're only pushing just these particular files. We're only committing these particular files. All right, so good. So I'll just add a commit, and I'll say project started, or I'll say starter hyphen project, something simple. Okay, so this is just letting us know that this is where we are starting out the project. Okay, and then I would also create a branch for that particular file. So what this means is that in our folder here, we don't even need this git ignore outside. I'll just delete it. It's not necessary here. Great. So now let me create a branch. So I'll click on this Git here. Oh, and I've added something. So let me just say initial commit or something. I'll press Control and hit enter, and that's the shortcut, or you can just click on this commit. Okay, great. So now that I have created a commit, I've initialized this folder, I'll just click on these three dots here. Let me expand this guy. I'll click on these three dots, and oh no, not the three dots. I'll click on this master here, and then I'll create a new branch from. So I'll create a new branch, and I'll call the branch name starter project. Starter-project. Or maybe I should just leave the hyphen. GitHub will add the hyphen for me. So starter project is fine, and hit enter. Then it says, where do I want to create the branch from? In other words, which branch you want to clone? I want to clone the master branch and create a new branch from it. All right, so this is the starter project, and because the starter project already contains a lot of things, I may modify it. You understand? I will modify it. So for now, this is how we're going to be tracking all the changes that we make. So that's about it for setting up Git and stuff. So the other thing we wanted to do is to create a route. So I'll go back to the master branch and create a route. So back to master, and then inside of the master, I'll just come here and create a simple route. So this port, I think I'll just bring it down here, and under the app, I'll just say routes, and here I'll say app.get. Remember, the app is coming from this variable here. So app.get, I would open my parenthesis here, and technically what we just want to do is we want to create the home route. So first off, I would you know what, let me just delete this guy. So app.get, open your parenthesis, and then specify the path for the route. So if it's the home page, then it's /. Then you add a comma, and you add a callback function. So the callback function is going to open up like this, and it's going to take a request and a response object. Now inside here, we can just send a response back to the page. So I'll say response.send, and let's just have some text. So I'll say home page. So home page. All right, that's about it for this one. So I'll save. And how are we going to test this route to make sure that it's is functional? Well, we're going to use Insomnia just like we used before. But before we test this route, let's just add a couple of middlewares that is going to help us handle the kind of data we can handle. So let me come here and say middlewares like so. So the first one is going to be express.json app. So it's going to be, we're going to say app.use, and we've seen this before, express.json. Then we'll call it. It's going to help us handle JSON data in our application. The next one is going to be app.use. Open that, and this is going to be express.url encoded, and we're going to call that, and it's going to take an object that will have a property of extended, and we're going to set that to false. This one will just help us to handle data that comes via the URL. Don't worry, you'll see how all of this plays out when we start building complex part of the application. So app.use, the last one is just the body parser. So remember, we installed the body parser, and we say that when we send information from the front end to the back end, right, the body parser helps us parse that information or that data and convert it to an object that we can easily access in the back end. So I'll just come here and say body parser, and we're going to say .json as well. Open that or call that. So these are the three pieces of middleware for now that we're going to use. So now let's go ahead and test this, our home route. I'll go ahead and save this file and let it restart our server, and then I'll just bring up Insomnia. So this is Insomnia. Aha. So in Insomnia here, I'm going to actually create a new folder that is going to have everything that concerns our pinvent app. So I'll come here, I'll click on the plus icon. Aha. So I'll say new folder. And I'll call that folder pinvent. Okay, so I'll say pinvent like so. Let me give you a space and say app. So pinvent app, and then I'll click on create. Aha, so you see we have pinvent app here. Now we can click to, like, we can create our first request inside of this pinvent app. So new request, and that request is going to just go to localhost port 5000 because that's like the home page. So http and then :/. Okay, so we have examples that we've done here before. So localhost 5000. So let's just delete everything in front of it, and then I'll just send this. It's going to be a get request. So we need to, okay, that's already set here as get. So I'll come here and send, and let's watch the response that comes. Aha, so it's loading. We get the 200 OK response, status code rather. Okay, so I'm waiting for the home page to reflect here on the Insomnia screen. Aha, so you see here we now get home page reflected on the Insomnia screen. So that's about it for creating our first route and general folder setup in the backend of our application. I know it took some time because I didn't plan that I was going to do all the Git stuff, but I hope you appreciate the fact that I'm just showing you how building an application works. So that's about it for this one. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.